A major update has just dropped in regards to Billy Donovan's future with the Chicago Bulls. According to an article published in HoopWire, the Chicago Bulls, one, are not going to fire Billy Donovan, and two, Billy Donovan is committed to the Chicago Bulls. Depending on who you're wanting to believe, the University of Kentucky is maybe essentially just waiting for Billy Donovan to go ahead and accept the position. In today's episode, we're going to talk about, is Billy Donovan going to stay or is he going to go? And if he does go, who the Chicago Bulls could possibly turn to as the head coach. This is Rico Greenhowe. I'm your host of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into it, wanted to let you know that 78% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribers. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with your latest news and happenings of your Chicago Bulls. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump right into the first topic of the video, which is, will Donovan stay or will he go? Once again, this article was published on HoopWire. We're going to go through it and then we're going to unpack it. So this is what this article had to say. First, it is the report, Bulls won't fire Billy Donovan this summer. That's your title. And it says, according to the NBA reporter, Darnell Mayberry of The Athletic, the Chicago Bulls will not fire head coach Billy Donovan this summer. Donovan has a good relationship with Bulls executive vice president of basketball operations, Arturas Kornishovich, and general manager Mark Eversley. Despite the Bulls' shortcomings, Donovan's job by all indications is safe, Marbury wrote. He signed a multi-year extension before last season, and he maintains a strong working relationships with Kornishovich and Eversley. The Bulls hired Donovan in 2020. They are 154 and 160 in the regular season and 1-4 in the playoffs under former University of Florida coach. Donovan has been listed as a candidate to replace John Calipari at Kentucky. The Bulls won't get into a bidding war for Donovan since Kentucky easily could raise the ante. Donovan has earned a reported $24 million over his initial 4-year contract with the Bulls. Calipari reportedly was set to earn $8.1 million next season and $8.6 million each season after that through 2029. The Bulls will face the Atlanta Hawks in the 9-10 play-in tournament game. They will need to win 2 play-in games in a row to make the 2024 playoffs as the 8th seed. Chicago is 23rd in the NBA in points per game, 13th in points per game allowed, and 21st in the net rating this season. All right, and then lastly here, guys, this is what Billy Donovan had to say. My whole total focus and commitment is here to this team and this group, Donovan said per NBC Sports Chicago Casey Johnson on April 9th. I think with what we've been through this year and the way we've started, we've talked about it. I give our guys a lot of credit for hanging in there and battling through some of the things they've had to battle through. And I'm with them on that. I'm committed to them on that. All right, guys. So a lot to unpack here. All right. So let's leave off with what was last said. First of all, you're seeing what Billy Donovan had to say after breaking the silence. All right. Because there was a bit of silence after the news had broken that the University of Kentucky has him listed as one of the favorites to get that job. All right. And it makes a lot of sense for him to possibly go back there. And I can understand where the University of Kentucky would be coming from wanting to get a guy like this, especially since this guy learned under Rick Pitino there. And remember, the University of Kentucky was very, very good when Rick Pitino was there. And so obviously, if they can get a coach that mimics what Rick Pitino was able to bring to the University of Kentucky, they're obviously going to jump at that at this point in time, especially with the early exits in the NCAA tournament. So Billy Donovan is a prime candidate, having been there and been an assistant under Rick Pitino. So it makes a lot of sense. But his commitment to the Bulls, hey, he's saying that he's committed. All right, I get it. All right. And then the first part of the article, it's basically alluding to the fact that the Chicago Bulls are committed to Billy Donovan. Obviously, I mean, the numbers are there. The facts are in. He just signed an extension, all right? And the one thing that we do know about the front office is that they are stagnated. They don't make moves. This is why we as Chicago Bulls fans are frustrated, because the Bulls won't make moves. And so honestly, this makes me think that even if Billy Donovan, the facts show that he is a mediocre coach or whatever, mediocrity, could get that out. But if anyway, even if he is a coach that is middle of the pack, we're still going to ride with him. All right. Like, we're still going to go ahead and say, we still want you to coach the team. Like, they're basically saying, even though you've had injuries, even though it looks terrible, even though, pretty much we're under 500, we're going to be 30 million over the cap or something like that. And all the disappointment you would say would go to the coach at this point in time, they're still not going to fire him. All right. So if they're not going to fire this guy, then, we're stuck with him, right? But here's the one thing that I will say about this situation as we get ready to move into the next section. Billy Donovan, once upon a time, said that he basically said "I do" to the Orlando Magic, and he reneged out of that deal. He had actually signed on for a 5-year deal, I think in 2007, to be their head coach, and then he backed out of it. So there is a chance, there's a possibility that Billy Donovan is essentially saying, hey, I'm committed, but then once the season ends, right, whatever that looks like, whether we get bashed in the play-in, whether we make it to the first round, or whatever time we exit out, there's a chance that Billy Donovan may sit back and think about this thing and go, maybe I want to go back to college, right? There's a chance that he can go back to college and essentially he can rebuild a roster the way he wants to. I'm not sure he necessarily has that range here with the Chicago Bulls. I don't know how much control he has over that player personnel. Like, maybe that's one of the things he wants to possibly get back to. I'm just speculating. I don't know, but that's the one thing that I would say about this situation, and to be wary, is that he has reneged before. He has walked out on a deal before. So there is a possibility that he may say, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. All right, so I'm going to throw that out there. Now, if Billy Donovan does leave, that leads us to the next part of the video, which is who would replace Billy Donovan? All right, guys. And so you guys know, we've done a couple videos on this, and the first coach or two coaches that come to mind for me is going to be Mark Jackson, and it's going to be Coach Bud. All right, those are the two coaches that come to me. But another coach that I will give folks out there, I've been seeing the comments, I've been reading it, I appreciate you guys, is going to be Jay Wright. All right, this is an interesting one, right, with Jay Wright. Could Jay Wright possibly hop off the CBS stand and come to the Chicago Bulls? I'm going to say that the answer to this is no. Jay Wright emphatically already said no to the Kentucky job. He has zero interest in going back to the college game, right? I could not see him wanting to come to the Chicago Bulls, and it's a situation where he's going to have to, he wants to hold players accountable, right? Like a Mark Jackson, like a Coach Bud. And I don't know if this particular front office wants to get a guy that is going to hold players accountable like this. And I don't think Jay Wright is really going to want to give up his time here as an announcer, where it's less stressful to come out here and be with the Chicago Bulls. So, I think that that's an emphatic no. All right. Another coach that was thrown out there was Coach K. All right. And I get it. Coach K, he's worked out there with the Olympic team. I get it. This guy can definitely coach on all levels, but I don't think that Coach K is coming out of retirement to come to the Chicago Bulls. If he was going to do it, he would have did it with the Lakers. I think that he was supposed to be with the Lakers at some point in time. So I think that that's not going to happen. All right. So really, I think at the end of the day, guys, we're looking at just a couple coaching candidates that possibly can go. All right. So Mark Jackson, again, is a guy that I think can definitely go ahead and he can build a team from the top to the bottom. I think that he can definitely do that. Will he probably get into a little bit of, I guess, bumping of heads with management? Probably so, right? And so it's like, if we get a guy in like this, I think it's going to change the course of the franchise. Now, here's a couple different coaches that I've got. You got Kenny Atkinson. You got Nate McMillan. You got Stan Van Gundy. You got Mike D'Antoni, Dwayne Casey, Steven Salas. You've got James Pargo. You got Mo Cheeks. These are a couple of, possible coaches that could go out here and maybe go ahead and replace Billy Donovan, and also to Coach Bud. So look, guys, out of that list, there's not one coach that is definitely going to come in and fix the Chicago Bulls. And for the people out there that want to go with these coaches that definitely had some success in college, I get it, whether it was Jay Wright or Coach K. I left you guys with the stat that there's only been one coach that has stepped up from the collegiate ranks and won in the NBA, and that's going to be Larry Brown. It's an incredible hard thing to do, right? Most college coaches come in and they fail. And to be honest with you, I mean, you could probably say Billy Donovan has failed here with the Chicago Bulls, and he's probably going to live off the success of what he did with the Thunder, right? They were in the Western Conference Finals. Now, and then even then, when you look at that, he had Hall of Famers out there with him. Like, he had Kevin Durant and he had Russell Westbrook. He had Kevin Durant right before he left to Golden State. So he had an elite unit, right? They were a better shooting team than what we have now with the Chicago Bulls. He didn't have to deal with near as many injuries as he's had to deal with the Chicago Bulls. And, he hasn't had to deal with the fact that the Chicago Bulls draft terribly. Comparatively speaking to OKC and Sam Presti, that's two totally different franchises, guys. So, look, I get it with Billy Donovan. I know we might need a change in voices and things like that in the locker room, but I just don't know who is going to come in and just want to take this job and, go ahead and get this team in the right direction if the front office is not on board, right? That's going to be the problem with a guy like Mark Jackson. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do any of those coaches, do they sound like they would be a good fit? Terry Stouts, the Van Gundys, like anybody, Mark Jackson, Nate McMillan, Coach Bud, any of those coaches, what do you guys think in the comments? Do you think Coach K would come back? Do you think Coach Wright? Anybody, right? And then also, too, guys, do you think that Billy Donovan is going to go to the University of Kentucky? Or do you think that he is staying true and he's going to stay with the Bulls, right? Do you think he's going to pull another Orlando Magic situation with us? Let me know in the comments, guys. This is Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. And of course, even though I don't know what we're going to do with our head coach or what we're going to do as a franchise, let's go Bulls. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.